Hi, I'm Chloe.
I'm Neve.
I'm Paige, and this is
Let's Talk. So today we'll be talking about serial killers.
Yeah. Let's go first, Neve.
Yeah, go on then. Today I'm talking about Peter Tobin.
Yeah.
He is a convicted serial killer and a sex offender, so that's a fun
Great.
combination.
Double whammy.
Serving 3 life sentences in Edinburgh. His crimes span from 1991 to 2006, but that's the ones that people know of.
Wow. Yeah.
So, it might. It's
Most likely, has done something before that. Yeah.
Well, he told one of the prison's psychiatrists, oh, I've killed up to 40 people.
Wow.
And then smiled at them and
Whoa.
went,
Psychopath.
prove it then.
my
I was
God.
like, jeez, I read that earlier, I was like, whoa.
Psychopath.
Fuck that. Well, he was born on the 27th of August, 1946, so he is now 72. He was one of 8 siblings, the youngest.
Yeah.
So he moved from Scotland to Brighton in 1970, where he married his 17-year-old girlfriend.
So much shit happened in the 70s. It's ridiculous.
Language.
Do you want us to bleep them out?
Because my mum's listening.
But they separated and divorced. She left him in 1971, so only lasted a year, didn't exactly go well. He married 3 times, actually. He then married again in 1973, but this time to a 30-year-old, Sylvia Jeffries. She was a local nurse. They had a son and a daughter, but the daughter died after childbirth.
Oh,
Wow.
that's sad.
And apparently it was quite a violent marriage. So
Cool.
yeah, so they were only married for 3 years. She left with their son in 1976.
Oh, fair.
And then he had another marriage.
And now I'm married.
I was thinking how much it would cost for all the weddings. He had a relationship with Kathy Wilson, and he had another son with her in 1987, and then he married her in 1989 when she was 17. So she would have had their son when she was 15.
Whoa.
I mean, wow.
Yeah. And then she left in 1990s, the year after she got married. And
So the first wife then?
Yeah, literally. He didn't hold on to anything for very long.
First girlfriend was 17.
Yeah.
Second girlfriend
30.
30, and then he went for a 15-year-old.
15-year-old.
Wow. Or 14.
And they were
probably, at the
married
time
when they were
got together.
17, and then she left after that as well.
Wow.
So she reached the age of 18 and went, actually,
Were
I'm gonna live my life.
Were they together for 3 years, did you say, or was that the 30-year-old?
30-year-old, they were together
3 years, yeah.
3 years.
Yeah.
Kathy Wilson, the one who was 15, she gave birth to their son in 1987. So you'd assume it might have been a couple months maybe, but they were together from then, and they got married in 1989. So they were together for 2 years when she was 17. So
Yeah, still
That's so young.
And how old is he?
he's now 72. So then,
I mean,
he would have been he'd been 41.
Yeah, wrong.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
40s. But all of his previous wives, so the 3 that I just talked about, they all gave similar accounts of falling for a well-dressed psychopath.
Ooh.
Basically, that's how they describe it. And then he
they
turned
do
violent.
say that psychopaths they try to manipulate people.
Yeah.
Into believing that they're good and that they do care for them.
Yeah, they
and
come
stuff
across
like
as really nice people.
Yeah, you would never even know that there's a psychopath.
Joe Goldberg.
Who?
Joe Goldberg.
Who's that?
He from You.
Guy from You.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
I'm only on the second
I
episode.
haven't seen it, so I would know.
All those viewers out
But
there, you know who he
But
is.
it's good.
Even Dan from
Proper.
Gossip Girl is a bit of a psychopath, so why is he
Well, yeah, everyone was it's basically just a
The
step
same
up.
character,
Yeah.
they said, yeah.
And that he then turned violent and displayed a sadistic streak during their marriages. So that's what happened. Convictions that he had. So he's got the murders. But I'll get to that in a minute. He's got in 1993. So he would have been 47. Yeah, 47. He attacked 2 14-year-old girls at his flat. What happened was they'd called his neighbour, they'd gone to visit a neighbour, but their neighbour wasn't home.
Oh yeah.
So they asked if they could stay in his flat and wait.
I think he might have insinuated something, and then they had asked.
Oh yeah,
Him putting the hints in.
he baited them.
Yeah, basically.
And then he then held him at knife point and forced him to drink vodka and cider.
Oh.
And then he raped them and stabbed one of the girls, while his one of his sons was present, a younger one.
Yeah.
he then turned on the gas in the flat and left them to die, but they both survived the attack.
That's madness.
Yeah, because I actually saw a documentary where the two girls are talking about the incident and the case, and when they got back home and they were found, because they were found by two policemen. Went to the house.
Oh really?
Went to the flat, and they said they couldn't stand each other because every time that they looked at each other, like growing up, it was just like a reminder
The
of them.
memories.
Now they're best friends again, because then they kind of then found they were struggling and like not being able to cope with it, and then they found like a piece of then learning how to cope with it together, because obviously no one knows what they went through than each other.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that.
That's so sad. And then in 1994, Tobin pled guilty, and he received a 14-year sentence, but he only actually spent 10 of those. He only did 10 years in jail.
See, I think that's so wrong. I think if you've been sentenced to something, you should have to serve the amount that you've been served.
Yeah, like,
I don't think it doesn't matter how good you are.
But what if you say it's a misconviction, right? And they ended up proving that you're actually fine.
That's different.
Is
though.
that different?
That's different.
Or
compared to like
when people are being good and they've done nothing in jail.
But if you're I think you've done that crime. You have to serve the time that they've given you, unless it's completely outrageous. Like
people
completely
who
like
have, like,
over the top sentence. But I mean, like that 14-year, he should have served that like completely all the way.
Full. I agree.
I think it does it's different from every single case, but the majority do lie with that, unless it's completely like ridiculous, like that girl.
So that was his first conviction. His second conviction was in 2006. He killed a Polish student in Scotland called Angelica Clark. So he was 60 at the time, and she was 23.
Mm-hmm.
She was staying in a church in Glasgow, and he was working as a handyman at the time. But she also works as a cleaner there to like fund her studies. But basically, he'd taken a different name, Pat McLaughlin, to go under the radar of the sex offenders register, because he obviously was on it by then. And then what happened was that she was last seen in his company, and then he raped, beat, and stabbed her, and then put her body under, like in an underground chamber, beneath the floor near the confessional.
Yeah.
And then there was forensic evidence that said she was probably still alive when she was placed under the floorboards.
Yeah, because I remember saying to you that the lady who did
The
forensic for it, she said it was the worst case she's ever done in her entire life, because it was just so traumatizing, like having to be in that like the tiny space, because it was like such a small space that he put her in, that only someone that knows the church like back of its like hand would know to put a body there.
Yeah, definitely. And then on the 29th of September, the police found her body, and he'd moved down to London by this point. So he got arrested in London not long afterwards. And then after that was his last murder, but it's the first one everyone like found out about, which meant that it then led on to realising that he'd done more.
Yeah.
So the second one was Vicky Hamilton, and in June 2007, his old house had been searched. It was in Margate, and what happened was that it was in the connection to her death. She was 15 at the time. She was last seen on the 10th of February 1991 waiting for a bus home near Falkirk, so that's in Scotland. So he moved her body from Scotland down to Margate, and then basically the
It would have been a long trip.
Literally.
Just with a dead body in the back of your car.
Casual.
I wonder if he killed
Stopping off
her.
at
Road
McDonald's.
trip.
Do you want anything?
Oh my god.
Basically, he drugged and sexually assaulted her, and then he cut up her body and buried like the pieces of her.
Yeah, like I was saying the other day, it's when like I don't understand how people can just cut up someone's body. Like I would be throwing up continuously.
Literally, just like chop.
Yeah.
You just have to have like no sympathy,
No
no empathy, nothing.
No, because there's some parts of the body, unless you're like a trained professional, you know exactly where to cut. There's some bodies, like parts of your body, like the muscles and the bones, that are going to be really, really hard to cut unless you do it in the completely the right section with the right cuts.
But
so if you're
was
not,
he a butcher?
No, he was a handyman.
Yeah. I mean, so he had the tools for it. It probably wasn't the best.
I'm not going to be able to get a handyman again. We've got £1 to fix this dishwasher. I'm just going to be like, I'm going to go out the house. Yeah, and then the investigation led to a forensic search of the house in Hampshire in early October 2007, where the police then found remains in Margate. So, yeah.
Wow.
Also, it's the thing is, like, imagine you've been, like, kidnapped, whatever, and then, like, they've sexually assaulted you. You must know they're going to kill you by this point. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you probably
know.
think that, otherwise you'd be like...
If you search Peter Tobin on the internet, there's a picture of him and his cat.
Is there actually?
What? Wow.
And then the last murder that everyone definitely knows about is Dinah McNichol. She was an 18-year-old sixth former from Essex that had been last seen alive on the 5th of August 1991. And she was hitchhiking home with a male companion. However, he then left along, I think it was the M25, and she stayed with him.
I remember seeing that he actually gave a sketch of what the other man looked like, and when you put a picture of him next to Peter Tobin, it looks really similar, but obviously, like, police weren't talking to each other, like, at the time, like.
And then, her decomposed, bound and gagged body was found in 2007. So that's literally 16 years later.
So that would have been,
that's
like,
disgusting.
Yeah.
But
her friends, like, were at the festival, and then she met a guy there. That's who one went the other way, and yeah.
But then every night for the following 10 days after her disappearance, her cash card had been used.
oh, is that like just to keep people like, oh, she's alive, she's using a cash card, sort of thing?
And then
using her money.
Yeah.
But it'd been in, like, a load of different towns in the southeast, so, like, Hove, Brighton, Portslade, Margate, and Ramsgate.
I feel like he probably, like, went on a little prowl just to see who he could get.
Yeah.
Like, he probably just drove for, like, a day straight and was just like, see who he could pick up.
Because he lived like, down south as well, and he killed people down there, obviously. But then what happened was that they also found that she'd been drugged, and she'd literally been hacked in half, like, at the waist, like, they just, like.
Goodness.
But
is that the picture we saw?
No, that's the Black Dahlia.
That's a different case. I personally haven't looked at the pictures.
I want to see it. What's her name?
Pages. Dinah, like Dinah.
D-I-H.
And then McNichol, MC.
No, I don't think I've released them.
Well, I don't know. It might have been, like, a clean job, but from the sound of it, it's not great. Like, hacked. And that's the last of his known murders. But he also was said to be connected to John, who was an unidentified serial killer in Glasgow in the 60s. He killed 3 women.
Right.
There are similarities between photos of Peter Tobin and like the photo artists. Yeah, there's similarities between the photos and the sketches of Bible John that the police had. Eyewitnesses also told police that Bible John, the unidentified serial killer, he had one of his teeth missing from the upper right area of his mouth, and apparently dental records said that proved that Tobin also had a tooth removed in, like, the late 1960s or something. And then
around the same area.
Yeah.
Freaky.
And it's been alleged that Tobin also reacted violently to his victim's menstrual cycle, which also was said to be like a suspicious. Yes. There was, like, suspicions about Bible John and if that was part of the motive towards his killings as well.
Right. Or, like, sort of influence.
Yeah, like.
I've actually heard of Bible John, but I've never, like, linked Peter Tobin. And
well, it's no one's definitely said it was.
Yeah.
It's just.
There's similarities.
There's similarities. Also.
And he's said it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, he's said it to most people.
Yeah.
But the women that Bible John killed, like, they were, like, strangled with their own, like, stockings and stuff. Like, it was really aggressive.
And if it works out, he was in the area at the same time of those killings.
He moved to Glasgow technically after they stopped, like, officially moved.
Wow.
But I think, well, people think he's probably gone before.
I think there's a good chance that it was him.
Yeah.
Considering, like we said earlier, like, there's It's very, very rare that someone just murders, like, randomly, like, in their late 40s or whatever, just randomly.
They said that because he's so old, like, he's such an older
he's been,
killer, it's highly likely that he's actually been doing it for years.
Probably started, like, in his early 20s. That's what police normally, like, conclude when they find serial killers or someone that's doing a crime like this. It's very, very rare that, like, an older man will just start killing at the age of, like, 45. It's very rare.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There's loads of... Well, that's the last of the ones that we definitely know he did, those 3. But there's loads of disappearances that the police have thought to be him.
Right.
But they haven't actually found body parts and stuff like that. Because he, like, the first one was...
Is one of his children still alive? Do you know the son?
He's got 2 boys. I think they're still alive.
I can't imagine being a serial killer's child.
I assume they'd lived with their mum when, like, their parents separated. But
I remember reading a case where this girl, like, recently, this woman now, she said how her dad was, like, a really bad, like, really dangerous serial killer in the US.
Yeah.
And he was wanted, like, heavily. And she said that at home he was, like, such a loving father. So obviously then she, like, has to fight with the fact that... I'm not saying, like, Peter Tobin, obviously, he doesn't sound like he's going to be a loving father at all.
No.
Because obviously the way he treats the women in his life.
Yeah.
But yeah. Just then that would be really hard to deal with, like, knowing a father has basically done that.
There's, like, an instance of, where there's traces of, like, the little boys, like, touched... I think it's the younger boys had touched, like, stuff with the victims.
Was it this case where the purse of the missing girl was the son had actually touched it and his DNA was on it? Yeah. Because it wasn't Peter Tobin's DNA, it was someone related to him. I think worked out it was his actual son, so he had given the woman's purse to play with. And then they found it, like, on the street somewhere when he's tried to get rid of, like, DNA evidence and stuff like that.
I think it was Vicky Hamilton. I read it, but I forgot to put notes about it. Because there's, like, loads of... Now that they've got... Obviously, they had better, like, ways to get evidence.
Yeah, DNA,
They'd found, like, way more. And, like, that... the last woman, the Dynamic Nickel, she'd... the bags that her body had been buried in, like, there's fingerprints of his on them and stuff like that. But yeah, so the crap. So who's next? Who wants to talk about their next?
I can go next.
So Chloe's going to go next.
Okay, Paige. So my serial killer, close to my heart, jokes, is Rose.
So done.
That's just weird. Why would you say that?
I said I was joking, okay? Is Rosemary West. I can't even say her name. Rosemary West and her husband.
Just say Rose.
Fred.
Yeah, to be fair, Rose is easier.
She was born 29th of November 1953. She is British.
If you haven't heard of her, then you're living under a rock.
Just some background knowledge about Rose. She was a difficult birth for her mum. Her mum suffered from depression and was given some medication during the pregnancy, which is thought to have caused her prenatal injury. So maybe Rose was born a bit loopy.
Probably no, because if you have a bad birth, like if
it can affect baby.
Yeah, it is. Like, if you have no oxygen,
but also
like
drugs, anything.
Yeah.
Will have. Some
Well, they
sort
say
of effect.
that, like, scientifically, like, if you have a bad birth, like, you're more likely to commit crime and stuff like that.
Rose was a promiscuous teenager.
Naughty girl.
Yeah, really naughty. She was moody, as most of us are, but, like, her parents were separated. Her dad is a paranoid schizophrenic, and he was very much prone to violence, which sucks. And he...
Sorry.
He sexually abused her as well when she was young. She was very much interested in her own body. She used to parade around the house naked with her little brother around.
That's so weird.
And like show off.
Do you know the age difference?
I don't, but I know
I might see.
Graham. His name's Graham, so if you look him up. Yeah, she used to creep into her little brother's room and masturbate him off, so Weird. Yeah. How she met Fred was at a bus stop. Very romantic. She was 15 at this time, and he was 28 years old.
Weird.
Initially, she wasn't actually interested in him. She was like, just stay away from me.
Oh, don't.
I know herself. But, like, he was like, oh, I promise I'll look after you. I'll take you on dates. Let's do this. Come on, it'll be good. And then she eventually caved in. And she started dating him, and her father, Bill, really did not like him and threatened to report him to social services, like, a few times, actually.
Nice.
But it never really happened. So I read a little bit more that Rose was, like, in and out of college. Rose, she was, like, in and out of social care. Like, she got kicked out of school, I read, just because she was being a bit weird, really. And her mum couldn't look after her, and her dad was obviously...
I was going to ask about the mum.
Don't really know much about her. Didn't say much about her.
Probably just.
I think she was just ill and stuff, and just...
Dad.
Yeah, must be.
I think so.
Probably. You'd have to be, or you'd have to
something like
left.
that.
Yeah. I mean, Rose only lived with her dad. She didn't live with her mum.
Yeah, you've not mentioned the mum, so maybe she did leave.
Well, I know that her mum, Rose's mum, didn't approve of the relationship either. So we know that much of Fred. So she knew about Fred.
Oh, fair enough.
She ended up taking care of his two daughters. One was his stepdaughter, and his actual daughter with another wife that he had, or partner. A bit about Fred. Was born September 29th. Fred came from a poor family of farmers, but they were all, like, very much protective of each other.
Yeah.
And, like, inclusive and stuff. He was one of 6 children, and he was his mum's favourite, but his mum actually did have 2 more children, but they died. Which is sad. Yeah. So he had he worked really hard, actually, and instilled a work ethic, but it says he developed a habit of petty theft. And Fred. And, like, he just had it for his whole life. So, actually, later on, when he's convicted of petty theft.
Yeah.
When he gets put into prison. Not actual murders, which is weird.
Was that what he was in for when
Rose had a baby, yeah. So, yeah. People who knew Fred in school called him scruffy and dim and lethargic. So, he was a bit, like, just out of it, I guess. And he was often in trouble.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in school, yeah. So he was introduced to sex by his mum when he was 12 years old.
Fuck.
Yeah, and he engaged in acts of bestiality.
Bestiality,
I thought so. It's very grim. Yeah, so with young animals, he's very much interested in that in his early teens. So... wonderful. And he thought incest was normal because his dad was doing that with his sisters. Yeah. He went to, like, youth clubs with his brother, and he used to just go around, like, groping girls and, like, touching them and approaching them, like, really aggressively. Be like, you're mine, sort of thing. And, like, yeah, he just pestered them and, like, objectify them until, like, they, like, either agreed to, like, engage with him. Yeah. And they actually said, like, most of them who did engage with him said, like, it just was poor. Like, really bad experience.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Because he's too used to having sex with dogs and stuff.
But yeah.
Like a horse once in a while. Doesn't have to do with an actual human being.
Exactly. He suffered 2 head injuries. One was from a major motorcycle accident. He, like, grew a really massive fear of hospitals, and he was like, I'm not going back.
Oh, really?
He grew, like, he was terrified of them. And then his second accident was when a girl pushed him down the stairs after he groped her.
Good girl.
We deserve that.
Exactly. So yeah, in June 1961, his 13-year-old sister was brave enough to tell her mum that Fred had raped her, and she was now pregnant.
Oh, fuck.
He was arrested for it, but the case fell through because she didn't testify in the end. But his mum, was like, yeah, I was going to stick up for him because you're my son and everything. Yeah. But after that happened, after it fell through, the mum banished him from, like, the house and everything. So they had to, like, his family disowned him.
I just love the word banished.
Banish. You're banished.
It's so extravagant.
I banish you.
I'm sorry. That's all I can think of.
So he moves in with his uncle and auntie on a different side of the caravan park, basically. Yeah. His first wife was Rena Costello. She was already pregnant by the time they met with a baby from a Pakistani bus driver. She married him on the 17th of November. So their first child was called Charmaine. Well, not their first child, but her first child.
Yeah.
His
stepdaughter.
Yeah, his stepdaughter. She was mixed race, obviously. So when people were like, oh, what's going on here? They were like, oh, they made up a lie that she had a miscarriage and we adopted instead.
Yeah, I read that. That's
weird.
Instead of honestly
Actually
just
just saying,
yeah, it's not mine.
But I'm going to look after, take care of the child.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it's a different time back then.
I think it's
True.
Different time back then.
I think it's easier to say, than oh yeah, we adopted this child. It's easier to say, oh, it's shagged another man.
Yeah, but I do think part of it was because it's.
What year was this?
1963, when she was born. Yeah. And they moved up to Glasgow.
Lovely place.
So
Some of it's alright. Some of it's absolutely horrible.
first child together, Anne Marie, was born in 1964.
I will always remember.
What a tune. And he treated the girls really badly, horrifically.
She was what?
Both Fred treated his
badly.
daughters horrifically.
Oh.
And there's this whole bit with Rena. She just couldn't stand him, so she ended up leaving him. Actually, no. What happened was Fred had an affair, which she found out about. So she went and had an affair with someone else, and repeatedly with this same person.
What, the woman?
Yeah,
Or to get back at him.
Yeah, basically. And then she ended up falling for the guy she had an affair with.
Oh yeah, I read that. I did read that.
But she'd come back for her kids and just be like, oh, I'm gonna be here for a bit, and then she'd be like, no, can't stand it, and would go back.
She should have just
Back to
taken the
Glasgow.
kid.
Yeah, she should have just left with the kids.
She tried to.
Oh really?
So what happened was I read that she'd come down and basically she tried to fight for custody and confronted Fred about it, and that was the last time she was seen.
I think in those days, fighting for custody wasn't you didn't even need to know that. She could have waited until he went and taken.
Literally just taken them.
Taken loads of men with her,
No, but what happened was she devised a plan with the guy she had an affair with.
Yeah.
To go down to Gloucester and get their kids, and it was also with Anne, who was a girl that they had taken as a lodger.
Oh, Anne McFall.
Yeah. She ended up falling for Fred, and Fred was like, I'm gonna marry you. So Anne was 18 years old and 8 months pregnant in July, and she vanished. This is one of the crimes that he committed. She was dismembered, and her body was found with her unborn child cut out, and this was because they had a supposed argument.
So where did the child go? Was it dead?
Fred cut it out.
Yeah, I highly doubt you could just cut one out.
No, some babies can survive. Depends on how.
Yeah, she was 8 months pregnant, but I don't know what he did with the baby.
Because I remember there was a case where a woman, she was having a psychiatric break or something, and she cut this woman, pregnant woman's stomach, and she stole the baby, and the baby survived. The woman obviously died, but the baby survived. It was really weird.
I don't know.
It's just messed up.
It most likely died. I don't think he would have kept the baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't. Thing is,
And he's
he
not
kind of
taking-
wanted a family though. That's why he was like, "Oh, Anne, I'll have a baby with her. Rena, have a baby with her." And he obviously was having sex with his daughters as well, which is just messed up. He actually moved to back to Gloucester from Glasgow because he ran over a boy with his ice cream truck. And obviously, it's weird with him because he doesn't
What?
he ran over a boy genuinely accidentally.
Well, he only killed women, really, didn't he?
Yeah.
on purpose.
Yeah. So
Deliberate acting.
When you murder people and you don't think that's an issue, when you accidentally hit a boy with your ice cream truck.
you're
you
freaking
find
out
that
about
weird.
it, but it's because it was a boy, I guess.
And because people would charge him for it.
Yeah, so he got let off as it was just an accident sort of thing. So they
Yeah.
didn't actually charge him for it. So they moved back, and then Rena moved back with him. And
Maybe
then
he was getting like issues from people in the community because it was actually like a.
that's why they
big thing.
moved, because they were his main customers, and they wouldn't serve him now because he's killed someone.
Yeah.
So that's why he had to move. Isa, or Isa, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but the nanny, they moved back, and so did Anne. Fred became dominant over those three women and like would beat them, and he was very much prone to mood swings, I guess, to his head injuries, because that can mess up
Yeah,
everything.
'cause didn't he pick the nanny up? He was in the car with Rose, and they just were like, "Oh, we're looking for a nanny."
Yeah. Well,
weird.
Anne came as it said, I read that Anne broke up with her boyfriend, so she was like really upset, and they were just around, and they were like, "Oh, come to our lodge, like we'll look after you," sort of thing.
Is he with Rose now? Or did he get together with her after Anne?
After. So
Oh no, there's another nanny then.
There is another nanny.
There's Isa the nanny, and then Anne as well, and they all like moved down to Gloucester with him, and then so he killed Anne, and Rena planned to get back her daughters with the guy she had an affair with, and they planned it, and then Anne was still alive at this point and told Fred, because she was like, I love him, I'm gonna tell you what's happened, and he was like all calm about it and stuff. But that was the last time Rena was seen, when she went down and confronted him
Why
about
did
it.
he think that she was dead?
He
Killed her.
No, but for her, the Anne to say like, "Oh yeah, she's."
No, because she was like, she just talked about it because
She was going to come get the kids.
Oh, so Anne told.
Anne told him because they were in love, and then she came down and he killed her.
he killed Rena.
It's mental.
So he killed Charmaine's mum. She was believed to be strangled to death, and they found like metal tubing with the remains, suggesting she'd been restrained and sexually abused before death.
Wow.
Her body was dismembered and found in plastic bags and buried under trees.
To not only have like, not to only be murdered, but when you're going to get your children to basically save them.
Yeah.
You die in such a traumatic way. It's like.
It's horrific.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
Yeah. So Rose,
Well,
on the other
I hate
hand,
this guy.
yeah,
Fred West.
Yeah, I hate
he's
him.
just in all his pictures as well. He looks like a happy man, and he's just.
He looks
It's
weird,
really
though.
creepy.
He's got a weird face though.
Like his face is
Yeah.
like he looks like he's got like cysts all over his face, like but under his skin. I look weird.
So Rose and Fred had a daughter together called Heather. She was born October 17th, 1970. In the early 70s, Rose was a prostitute, and
Nice.
her husband watched her. Great.
Yeah, they
Just have a little hole in
have
the
a whole.
wall.
But was it through the
look
wall
through.
or was he in a cupboard?
I don't know. I
Look
couldn't
at
find
that.
it.
'Cause I couldn't remember if he was in a. I thought it was.
I thought it was a wall.
I think it might be a wall,
But
like a glory hole, with just one pair of
I know
eyes.
it's like, do you know, like in like Scooby Doo and stuff, and the eyes would just like move.
Or the
Oh,
pictures.
yeah, you know how messed up Fred was, like actually thinking incest was fine and all of this. Rose was just as bad because she encouraged him.
Probably worse.
Maybe, but as together they were like
bad as each
awful.
other.
Yeah, she encouraged him to sexually abuse Anne Marie when she was only 8 years old, and Rose took part in that as well. And then Anne Marie was forced into prostitution, and Rose called her lucky for being like picked to do this, as it's like an honour.
Wow.
When
Which
she
is-
was so young as well.
8 years old.
I don't understand how you can pimp your own kids out. I just don't.
Yeah,
Not even an 8-year-old girl, like.
it's
Literally.
disgusting.
Like people really really judge prostitutes, and I think if it's their choice, then fair enough, good for them. Make that money, whatever. But making people do it's just shocking, especially kids.
Making your own kids.
Yeah, your own kids.
Rose's most frequent customer was her dad. So he had sexually abused her since she was 13 years old. But he died in 1979. Sorry, I didn't hear it. Rose was often pregnant, just like falling pregnant. I don't know if she had any miscarriages, but she ended up having 8 children.
Yeah, probably.
Miscarriages.
Or she like got rid of them, killed them, whatever. Don't know.
Obviously, wasn't using protection.
Clearly not.
But then she must have like
maybe
lived the men she was
sometimes
having sex with, like as a prostitute, because then she'd just be having random kids from different men.
She did. She had a few.
She had
different
3 kids from different clients.
Oh.
And then
How do they definitely know the rest of them are all his?
genetics, I guess, maybe. Maybe they just look as
I guess
ugly
they
as
do
him.
just look
Yeah, they like had
It's got
similar
a little gremlin over things, doesn't it? You're
Yeah,
like,
so you can tell like his cheeks are like he's got like a massive chin, I think.
Die-hard Fred West psychopath fans are gonna come for us now.
Yeah.
No, he's really handsome.
Oh, don't.
He's such a sexy serial killer.
Oh my goodness.
Like no, he's not.
Don't. But yeah, Rose and Fred were convicted of sexual assault in January 1973 and fined for indecent assault of Caroline Owens. Do you know much about her?
A little.
No.
But fill us in.
She just went. Oh, I've got it here. She escaped the couple's home and reported to them. She was picked up at a bus stop.
What is it with the bus stops?
That was their thing. They would go around picking up girls from bus stops
I've never got a
or
bus again.
clients, whatever,
Okay.
and then end up killing them in
I
their
don't like
home.
buses anyway.
It was like yesterday. I was like, "Oi, love, get in the car." I mean, you see those men that are just in their white transit van.
What I don't understand people that are like in vans and stuff, and they just shout out
They
the window at you,
whistle
and
and-
you're
disgusting.
like, "What are you doing?"
I was
What are you
like,
doing?
So
So, yeah.
is she the one that she tried to kill herself?
Eventually, after, yeah.
Yeah, because the trial
Because of what
didn't
happened to her.
happen.
Yeah.
And she didn't
Yeah.
actually testify in the end.
I feel like if you went through something that traumatic, you would, yeah, you
It,
probably would.
you'd be horrified, wouldn't you, having to talk about it?
And
again?
who else did she have like to talk to? She probably felt she
No.
couldn't talk to anyone
Not at
about
that
it,
time,
which is
no.
why it was just too much. But yeah, they were both brought to the magistrate's court in Gloucester, 30th of June, and he was charged with 11 murders. She was charged with 9. She was claimed to be innocent in all of this. She was like, "Oh no, my husband did all of it. He actually sexually abused me, and I tried to stop him with one of the
But
sexual
they
assaults."
saw right through her.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
saw right through everything she said.
Yeah, and that's why
Good.
she's now serving in prison
Because
still.
there's no way. They'll have been able to tell that 2 people were doing it as well.
You would know if your husband was.
They would have found
continuously
DNA
taking
though,
girls
wouldn't they?
Yeah,
downstairs
they-
in your basement.
Yeah.
And torturing them and raping them, and then killing them. You would know.
Oh, I didn't even tell you. Rose ended up killing Heather. No, Charmaine.
She killed Charmaine
And
while he was
Heather.
in prison.
And when
the
he
girl-
got out,
his stepdaughter, effectively.
yeah, and he got out and ended up just burying her straight away because she was dead. Like Charmaine, had stabbed her and dismembered her.
Oh.
They love that, don't
And
they?
they killed their daughter Heather, didn't they?
Yeah, they killed
I'm
Heather.
never gonna cut meat the same. Like a big bit of like.
Actually
beef.
says they used a butcher's knife.
Like a meat cleaver. Like a.
Yeah, but they use a meat knife
A little-
to score on
That's actually
Heather.
fantastic. Like the thought of that.
Just as a punishment. They would
Oh yeah, they did. They used to
cut her up.
cut into her when she was still alive.
Oh, yeah, didn't you say the other day that they killed her by kicking her in the head? One of them.
Yeah, so that
So
she.
severely, and the
That's what
younger
Rose would
brother-
do, and
the
the
younger brother
brother-
tried like saying something.
Yeah, I was just watching.
He was traumatized by the fact that.
Was that definitely was that not Anne Marie that they killed in the head? They kicked in the head. Well, Heather apparently
Heather.
he didn't mean to kill her. They didn't mean to kill her. He said he didn't mean to kill her.
Yeah, I read that he
He
said
said
he was
it
like, I
was-
loved her.
Yeah. And they said they threatened their kids, didn't they, that they'd end up under the patio
On
like
the
Heather.
Yeah, it's horrible. Why?
There's so many
Why
things
would
I
you
can't- I
even
can't look at a
say that
patio
to your
now.
child?
Can't get a bus. Can't look at a patio.
Well, this is gonna be a great 10-day.
Can't have the handyman in the
way.
You're by the
You're
end
gonna
of
be
it.
able to talk to women, talk to kids. You're gonna have some weird conspiracy theories. think the government's watching you constantly.
I'm going to
which
lose
they
my mind.
probably are.
Welcome to our podcast.
You're going to feel like you're going to get kidnapped.
Oh, don't. Oh, please don't. I was walking to the co-op the other day and was freaking out.
Don't, because I do as well. Don't! That actually probably freaked me out. You were like...
Especially after that man, I swore at
Like
that man in his car. I was like,
no.
he's going to kill me!
After Lewis showed us that video of the alien next window, I'm really scared of that window now. I feel really weird.
And you sit closest
It's
to
really
it as
creeping me
well.
out.
He didn't even show me it, and I still think it's creepy.
It's
I saw
really
it.
freaky.
Did you watch it?
He didn't show me a video, he showed me the picture.
Oh,
I didn't want to
the-
see the video of it like popping up and down next to the window.
The video might be funny though.
Lewis!
No, don't, you'll come down.
What was I saying? Something.
How much they got charged for?
Oh yeah. So they were charged for 11 murders. She was charged with 9. And then I think Fred got out.
Wasn't he charged with 12?
11. It says 11. And she was charged with 9.
It does say 12, doesn't it?
But
yeah, but I've got one
there,
that says as 12 confirmed.
yeah,
Maybe
it says
at
here.
maybe at the point that when he first got convicted,
It was only.
it was 11, but maybe they
I
had
don't
more
know.
evidence or
Might
something
be.
that.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure if they.
You've got
The
right. So you've
police
got
just
Anne McFall, Heather.
My one
Alison
doesn't
Chambers.
say. I mean, considering they were killing for 20 years,
Shirley Ann Robinson, Juanita Marion Mott,
and I think it
Shirley
includes like
Hubbard.
the mum.
Mum. There's
Mm.
loads of them. Loads of them.
He was like, oh, I killed up to 30 people.
Yeah, he said that.
He probably did. Well, they think that like one of the daughters, the one that's still alive, thinks that the Rose and Fred killed up to 30 to 70.
Yeah,
people.
he said he's killed up to 30 people,
Yeah.
but they've only.
Only been caught
Well,
for that.
I think the daughter thinks it was a lot more than that, but they
Yeah.
obviously they can't prove it. They can't find any evidence or because there's so many vulnerable, like especially then, like there's so many like children and young girls probably that
Yeah.
weren't on like any books, like
He-
on the social or.
Yeah.
He killed one woman, Teresa Seigenthaler. She was a student, and she was hitchhiking as well. So
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, don't hitchhike.
don't hitchhike, guys.
Please don't hitchhike.
Please just get the bus.
Be safe.
Don't get the bus. Don't get the bus.
Yeah, don't stand at a bus stop, don't hitchhike.
Always take a friend,
just,
okay?
Just stay inside your bedroom at home, but then when you hear my serial killer, you wouldn't want to stay in your bedroom ever again.
No, don't.
I'm done now.
Oh no.
I'm done.
You just like
I'm gonna have to heavily drink to get over this
Yeah.
now.
But yeah, the last things that really happened, there's like obviously loads more detail, but Rose is now still in prison serving her sentence, and unfortunately, well, I say unfortunately, but Fred killed himself.
I think it's unfortunate
on the
because
1st
the-
of
I mean,
January.
Fuck you.
is it like it's a
Fred
good thing that he's
Escape.
like removed from this like earth, but at the same time, he's not serving the sentence that he should be. Like he's not paying
It's a
for the
cop out.
crimes.
Yeah.
It's a cop out.
1995, so
Yeah.
yeah, it was stupid. But anyway, he wrote a suicide note to his wife, which I'm just going to read quick. He says, to Rose, West, Steve and May, which is obviously his son and other daughter.
Yeah, May was one of his daughters, wasn't
Try and do it in his voice.
And Stephen.
I don't know what he sounds like.
No, do a really
Yes.
creepy.
He's from Glasgow, isn't he?
I don't know.
Do a
Yes.
Scottish accent.
up.
You read it.
He says, well, Rose, it's your birthday on the 29th of November 1994, and you will be 41 and still beautiful and still lovely, and I love
Cringe.
you. We will always be in love. The most wonderful thing in my life was when I met you. Our love is special to us. So, love, keep your promises to me. You know what they are.
Jesus, that's so sinister. Well, of course it is, because he's a serial killer. But
Where we are put together forever and ever is up to you. We loved Heather, both of us. I would love Charmaine to be with Heather and Rena. You will
We
always be
murdered
Mrs.
me.
West all over the world. That is important to me and to you. I haven't got you a present, but all I have is my life. I will give it to you, my darling. When you are ready, come to me. I will be waiting for you.
so he killed himself as a birthday present.
Yeah.
Well, so
Happy
basically,
birthday, mate.
pretty much.
Oh no! God, that's awful.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that he
It was written
mentions
in his cell, and they found it in his cell after he killed himself.
them. Alright.
And it's just like he's
That's
waiting for
weird.
his wife. Paige,
Weird.
who was your
Wait,
person?
I was gonna comment on
Too late.
something.
What were you gonna say? You've forgotten.
Well, yeah, that's why I wrapped it. But it's just like really weird that he would.
Did he
say
mention
that.
them?
Yeah, but It's not
He was
normal.
like, I wish they would be together.
When
Even
he
though he
murdered
would
them.
he chopped them up and put them one under the patio and one under some trees near where they lived actually.
Jesus.
There's
Right.
something I was gonna say.
Gonna
What was I
depress me a bit
saying?
more, Paige.
Yeah, this
Go
is-
on.
Round 3.
Okay, my serial killer
Ding, ding.
is like probably the most messed up person that I've ever read about or heard about. And his name is Peter Kürten, and he's from
Laura Ashley.
Peter.
I'm joking. Okay.
Why? Why
Laura Ashley,
Curtains.
curtains.
That's not funny.
I
That's
don't know.
such a bad joke.
I don't know what you mean.
That's sad.
I did get it.
So
But it wasn't good.
So
That's why I went, haha.
Kürten was born into extreme, poverty, basically. In I can't say it. It's a place in Germany, basically. It's like Kohlhunmülheim. I don't know.
Okay.
It's weird. In a suburb of Cologne, born on the 26th May 1883. He was the eldest of 13 children. He was really messed up because his dad was an alcoholic. He had sadistic tendency. He used to make the boys in the family, including Peter, watch him and his mum have sex.
Oh.
And then make him watch him abusing his sisters, because there's 13 of them. So
Jesus
13.
Christ.
yeah, his dad was really
That's a big
disgusting.
That's how many.
Um,
I've just realised I actually read about this the other day.
yeah. So the dad used to brutalise both the wife and the children, and they only shared one room with 13
Wow.
children, 2 adults, so 15 of them shared
Goodness.
one room. So yeah. He would see his mum and dad constantly having sex, and his dad just raping and sexually assaulting his sisters constantly. So that made him, what's it called?
Susceptible?
No, basically he started talking to a guy, a dog catcher. Yeah, a dog catcher next door, or in a different apartment block from him. It was really weird. Doesn't say. It was in the same area as him. So the dog catcher introduced him to bestiality, mainly with
Jesus.
dogs.
Oh.
So he would make him watch porn, or show him pictures, not watch it because they didn't have.
Stuff back then.
Yeah,
in time.
they showed him videos of made him because he obviously was catching dogs frequently, dogs that were loose and
That is
Yeah.
That was a thing back in the
disgusting.
day as well, wasn't it?
yeah, he used to show him how to basically rape these dogs. Gross. So
It says as a his sexual
his whole thing is
Profile.
thing. Sexual
He's-
profile. There we
he
go. I
liked-
couldn't think of the word. As it matured, his bestiality extended to sheep, goats, and other farm animals.
Yeah.
Oh.
With the teenager discovering particular pleasure when the animal was stabbed during
Yeah.
intercourse.
You're trying to tell half my thing. That's,
Also, on this one, it also
'Cause
says
that-
bestiality without an A, so they can't slide Chloe off that much.
yeah, I think it's A for the UK and just an E for US. Do you
That
know
sounds about right. We always have to put an extra letter in there, don't we?
Usually, yeah.
So, and then it says that when he was a teenager, he, like you just said, he then started to spread his bestiality to farm animals, particular pleasure in stabbing the animal during intercourse, like you just said. That's just nasty.
Does it then? I know I'm getting a bit ahead, but does he then do it with the humans as well?
Yeah. That's his whole thing.
What, stabbing them and then...
Yeah, then, and it gets really messed up at some point, and it's just really gross. I'll tell you about it in a second.
Oh.
He was
Alright.
also known as the vampire of.
Yeah.
Dusseldorf.
So his
Dusseldorf.
other name is a vampire of Dusseldorf, or there's another one that they start calling him as
The
well.
monster. There's a monster. of
Yeah, the
Dusseldorf.
monster of Dusseldorf.
I thought
as well.
about
That's
talking
because
about
he
this
starts drinking people's blood as well.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
really
one. Gotta get all
disgusting.
that iron in there,
Vampire.
don't you?
So it says
Delicious.
that,
Don't drink blood. Just eat spinach if you're short.
Long iron.
he basically, at the age of 16, because his dad is being tried for raping his 13-year-old sister, he runs away, and then basically goes to marry this prostitute who's 2 years older than him, which is really weird.
Oh,
He,
so
runs
she's
off to go with her.
17.
Yeah.
Weird.
No, 18. She's 18 because he's 16.
Oh, 16. Okay.
Yeah,
So
she's 18. And then she's also into like she's also into like weird sexual violence as well. So they've kind of met. So he ended up going to prison, where then he would try to break the rules to satisfy his fantasies for committing brutal sex acts whilst in solitary confinement. So basically, he would try to get guards to come in, and like he would then try to like sexually attack them. Like
Wow.
he would try to attack them, or so he could get off on the thing. So yeah, then afterwards, when he got out of prison, when he was having, he stated that he had severe forms of punishment. So afterwards, when he got out, he then, this is really messed up, he would spontaneously ejaculate at the thought of the forms of punishment that he had whilst in prison. Like
Wow.
if he thought about it, like the punishment that he had, like it doesn't say what happened to him because this was only word of mouth from what he said.
That's disgusting.
It could all be lies though. Like he could be like just exaggerating.
You'd have to clean your
but he did
so many times.
No, but he did.
Sorry. That's all I
in
can
the
think
times that he was in prison, he would just like randomly just like ejaculate. So I think that may have been from what he said, like when he would think about the form, because it kind of goes with the sex, like the sexual violence when he would stab like his victims.
Yeah.
So then that's just like his childhood, the background of it. He had a pretty messed up background where he just, his dad was an evil man and would just constantly like sexually abuse his mum and his sisters.
Yeah.
And his dad only got actually 3 years for
3.
Yeah, for raping his
Jesus,
13-year-old sister.
that's so bad.
That's nothing.
It's literally nothing.
So his actual
Get a degree in that time.
Trying to.
Yeah.
So
we can.
So the police think that his actual first murder was where is it? Doesn't say, but basically people think his first murder it was whilst he was at school with 2 school friends. They think that he drowned them, which at the time it was concluded that it was an accidental drowning.
Right.
But
because that doesn't quite fit his MO, does it?
no.
Oh, does it not?
Well, if he likes
Oh,
strangling
it's that-
and
no, but
stabbing
this
people.
No, but this is but yeah, it kind of like it was before he started getting into all the bestiality and stuff like that. It was just kind of he was a bit messed up still because of obviously the
What's
acts that his dad
happened in
was
his
doing.
yeah.
So yeah, they said that once they actually looked into it, the evidence then kind of showed that someone had drowned them, and he was the only other boy with them at the time.
Oh.
So the story is that they think that one of them was pushed in, the other one went to actually help, and then he drowned both of them. So they don't know, they can't like actually conclude that he did it, but they think that he did it. But his actual first
Definite.
like the ones he's been tried for, like murder, was a murder of a 10-year-old Christine Klein. I don't know how to say
Klein?
his name. Klein, yeah.
You have picked a German murderer who can't
true.
pronounce the names of.
It's like German girls and Austrian girls. So she was sexually assaulted and stabbed in her home.
In her home?
In her own home whilst her parents were working down below in the pub. Because they owned the pub downstairs. So he literally just walked upstairs and found her in her room and like sexually assaulted her and then murdered her, and her parents just found her. But at the time they didn't obviously have any suspicions that it was him because he was like irrelevant to obviously the people's lives that were affected. So they actually thought that it was her uncle that did it, but obviously he was like tried and they realised it wasn't him. So that was
they tried her uncle.
That was May 25th, 1913. Whilst her parents worked below in the bedroom. That was really messed up. So yeah, he then got sent off for military duty basically because it was the start of World War One.
World Wars.
But he ran away from his barracks, so he was imprisoned for being a what's the word?
Deserter.
A deserter. So
Coward, like.
and that was in 1921.
Goodness.
So bad back then.
But then he got out after a few years. He moved to Attenberg, where he met and married like he met the prostitute that he'd run away with again, but she had actually got engaged to another guy whilst he was in like prison and doing the military duty and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then she ended up murdering him.
Yeah, she killed him.
Yeah.
Her ex-fiance.
Wow.
Which is weird.
How did she kill him? Do we know that?
No, just she spent. I don't actually doesn't even say.
Sorry.
I don't know. Just says. Okay, then after when they got together, he actually spent 4 years leading a normal, like a relatively normal life.
Oh, but people can't. That would have driven him mad.
Yeah.
Like you can't go.
Probably that's why like his like the.
I think that's why he went nutty afterwards, isn't it?
That's the reason his crimes are so like horrific.
Extra.
Yeah.
It's not funny. I'm sorry.
So yeah,
we're bad people.
He actually
not
became.
that bad. We haven't killed anyone yet.
He
We're
actually
bad.
became.
I didn't. I'm not gonna kill anyone.
I forgot to say. He actually worked as a moulder, which was his father's profession.
Okay.
And he also became active in the trade union.
Oh.
So,
goodness.
yeah. So in those 4 years, he really kind of like started to change his life.
Straightened himself out a little.
Yeah. Which at that point he hadn't been like tried or found guilty of murdering the first girl. So he still had done.
Oh, the
that.
girl from the pub.
Yeah. Because I think he killed 9 girls. Let me find the names. So yeah, his victims. So 1892 claimed to have drowned 2 school friends. 25th May 1913, Christine. 9th of February 1929, there was an 8-year-old girl, Rosa Higler.
Yeah, 8-year-old
And then
girl.
most of the girls are quite young. But then there was, on 14th of February 1929, there was a 45-year-old woman. Her name was Hershey.
If I just read it wrong, it says he stabbed a man.
Yeah, he stabbed a mechanic, 20 times. Stabbed him 20 times.
Well, there's one who survived it.
Oh wait, maybe that's the 45-year-old.
Maria Kun, I don't know how that's pronounced.
Khan?
Sorry.
Because he had
survived repeated stabbing.
No, but he had 30 plus victims. So there was a lot of survivors from him, but the only people he actually murdered was 9 people.
24 individual stabs though.
So yeah, basically
20.
when...
God, there could be so much aggression behind that to do that many times.
Yeah, when he started like murdering again, he then like fed off the press attention. He used to love it.
That's messed up.
Yeah. And he would contact like the newspapers with like descriptions of like how the body was, and so there's an actual specific date, like the 9th of November 1929, a map of the positioning of the latest victim, which was a 5-year-old girl, Gertrude Obermann. Yeah, Obermann, who was stabbed to death. Yeah, so but they think that he had like up to 30 to 70 victims.
Yeah.
But I think that he had a lot of victims that were a close counter for death. Like they didn't actually, like maybe he tried to like
that 5-year-old
attack her or something.
He killed her foster sister as well. She had like a 14-year-old foster sister called Louise.
Yeah, there
he
was.
killed her as well.
And there was another 5.
But he
14.
wait, I've got some more stuff.
I've read
so
that
many.
He's really like he's a proper evil man. He basically in several months he attempted to strangle 4 women, but each of them got away from him. And then in August 1929, the killing spree reached an all-time high because he murdered 6 people in a space of over a month.
Wow. You mentioned there's obviously a few who got away.
Yeah.
But
So he used to stalk his victims as well. There's one woman that he stalked for almost a week.
Is that Maria or Mariah?
Doesn't say. It
What?
says.
Actually, there's 2 Marias.
There's a Maria Budlick, and he took her to his home, but he raped her. But he was like, he didn't kill her. He just raped her, and then he told his wife, and like told his wife to tell the police.
See, he continuously changed like the way he like his MO. Like he would strangle people. He would stab people with a knife. He changed his MO to stabbing with scissors at one point to throw No, he switched from his signature pair of scissors to a knife.
Oh, signature pair of scissors.
To throw off the trail, basically.
Wow.
And then he stabbed 3 people, an 18-year-old girl, a 30-year-old man, and a 37-year-old woman, who all escaped but described their attacker differently, effectively confusing with the police.
Oh,
See, there were so many different victims. And then, for the first time, he engaged in cannibalism, drinking the blood of younger girls as it poured from her neck. Gross.
Vampire Diaries.
Sisters, that was just like you were just talking about. One of them, she was strangled. The other one had her throat sliced, basically. I think that might have been the one where he drunk from her thing.
That's so bad.
That's vile. What was he like? What was his convictions in the end?
9 murders.
9 murders.
That's what they got him for. He ended up admitting to 68 crimes, including 10 murders and 31 attempted. He justified the crimes, claiming that they were revenge for the horrors that life had inflicted upon him during childhood. But they only actually found evidence for 9.
So is he still alive? Well, I guess not.
No,
Well,
he
not
got
this long ago.
executed.
Yeah, he got executed.
Okay.
He got hung.
Back then,
He wasn't hung. He was guillotined.
it was good.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that he got hung.
No, oh, I've got
That
good.
could have been.
Oh no, yeah,
West.
he was. He said,
That's mad.
Oh,
he received
yeah, 'cause
9
I remember-
death sentences.
because I remember him saying, as like just before the machine went down on his head, he turned to the psychiatrist and asked, "Tell me, after my head is chopped off, will I still be able to hear, at least for a moment, the sound of my own blood gushing from the stump of my neck? That would be pleasure to end all pleasures."
Oh my word.
It's really messed up.
Wow.
And then, like, as soon as he said that, the executioner just like dropped the blade.
I'm not surprised.
Get away from
Like,
me.
He hears that just like go. Don't even know
Goodness
answer that.
me.
So yeah, now there's
Oh.
like loads of evidence, like all his forensic evidence, and it's, oh my god, his head was removed for a forensic analysis and is now in the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum in Wisconsin.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like, yeah.
Wow,
in that.
this is his head.
Oh no, I can see it from here. Don't
Let me
look.
see. I want to see.
So thank you for joining us today with our serial killers.
Fun.
Yeah, it was
I
great.
hope the rest of anyone who listens to this can't sleep either.
Yeah. Don't be
Yeah,
scared.
we've learned today that we can't go to bus stops. We can't ride buses anymore.
Don't hitchhike on your
Yeah,
own.
don't hitchhike.
Don't trust handymen.
Yeah, don't trust handyman. Just don't leave your house, but then someone may come into your house and then murder
No,
you.
it's okay. You'll be fine.
Just
You'll be
there.
fine.
You
No.
say, and then someone gets murdered whilst listening to this podcast.
Don't.
Oh, don't even say something like that. That's so bad.
Probably shouldn't
I hope
include
none of
that
you
bit.
die. I hope you have safe lives.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die tomorrow now. Watch.
Jesus, what's wrong with you? Right.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Don't forget to subscribe
Yes.
and
that's true.
follow.
Bye.